All right, let's dive into something we haven't really talked about in a hot minute. Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals' star pass rusher and NFL sack leader in 2024, might be on the move. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy who's been terrorizing quarterbacks could actually be headed out of Cincinnati. Now, this all kicked off after Hendrickson went on the Pat McAfee show and responded to some comments made by Bengals Executive Vice President Katie Blackburn. And let me tell you, what she said, not exactly the best way to treat your franchise's top defender. She basically said, he should be happy at certain rates that maybe he doesn't think he'd be happy at. Wait, what? That's like telling your best player, hey, deal with it. We think it's a good offer, even if you don't. And it doesn't even sound like there was an actual offer. That's the kind of energy you get when your boss throws a pizza party instead of giving out holiday bonuses. Like, oh, you don't like pepperoni? Wow, ungrateful. Meanwhile, the employees are like, no, I just wanted a little respect, and maybe a check. Now, shout out to Ben Baby from ESPN who reported all this. After those comments went public, Hendrickson made it clear on McAfee's show that he's not thrilled. He said the communication with the Bengals has been frustrating, practically non-existent for months. They haven't even spoken to his agent. And this isn't just some rotational guy we're talking about. This is a dude who's dropped 17.5 sacks over the last 2 seasons, easily the best player on that defense. And the Bengals? Radio silence. Hendrickson even thought the situation was so wild that he assumed it was some kind of April Fool's joke. But nope, totally real. His agent found out through the media, not the team, and that's a big no-no in this league. Now, to be fair, the Bengals did open up the wallet for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Took them forever, but eventually they locked both guys up with massive 4-year deals. Chase is now the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history, and Higgins is the highest-paid number 2 wideout ever. So clearly, they know how to pay when they want to. But not even picking up the phone for Hendrickson? That's brutal. And now he's saying he's willing to sit out the season if things don't change. From the outside looking in, this ain't heading toward a happy ending. You've got the EVP basically saying, quit whining, and Hendrickson just trying to figure out how to tell his wife what the heck is going on. So Trey Hendrickson is over here saying, I just want to settle down in Cincinnati, be here long-term, raise a family, build a life. And the Bengals are basically responding with, nah, you should be thankful for what you've already got. Tough luck, man. Because here's the truth. I don't know how the Bengals are going to pull this off financially. Could they? Sure, anything's possible. But let's be honest, the Bengals aren't exactly rolling in dough. This isn't Arthur Blank and his Home Depot empire. This is a family-run operation. The money is tight. You go back less than a decade, and they were struggling to sell out a home playoff game. That's wild. And now, they're shelling out cold, hard cash, and I mean real dollars, not some accounting trickery. We're talking over $100 million just between Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. And that's before you even touch the rest of the roster. So realistically, how are they going to come up with a fair offer for Hendrickson? Especially when it sounds like they haven't even attempted one yet. No movement, no talks, no respect for the guy who's been anchoring their defense. Now, if things keep going south in Cincy, we might start looking at trade scenarios. One team that keeps popping up in conversation? The Atlanta Falcons. But we'll get to that in a sec. Remember who Trey Hendrickson is. Before we go into any trade hypotheticals, let's not forget who we're talking about here. Hendrickson started in New Orleans, had a breakout year in 2020 with the Saints, and then came to the Bengals with big expectations. And what did he do? Delivered. Big time. In his first year with Cincinnati, 14 sacks. The next, 8. And then, back-to-back 17.5 sack seasons. Dude also racked up 19 tackles for loss. This isn't just a pass rush specialist you throw out on 3rd and long. He's out there stuffing the run, disrupting everything, and setting the tone on defense. He's one of the best edge rushers in the league, period. The fact that the Bengals are even letting this situation drift into trade talk territory, that's bad business. And if they don't find a way to fix this soon, someone else will. Man, I actually feel kind of bad for Trey Hendrickson. This guy has been absolutely balling out the past few seasons, like elite-level stuff, and yet he's still flying under the radar. And why? Because he happens to be doing it during the era of Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and Micah Parsons, three guys who eat up all the headlines and highlights. But make no mistake, Hendrickson is right there with them in terms of impact. Now, when it comes to trading for him, I'm in, but with a couple of asterisks. On the surface, yeah, I'd say yes, I'd pull the trigger. But if I'm allowed to expand on that just a bit, here's what I mean. Trade value matters. First off, what's it going to cost to get him? Because while I love Hendrickson's game, I'm not giving up everything for a 30-year-old edge rusher. There's a line, and if it gets too pricey, I'm out. So I cooked up two trade ideas, both kind of slanted in Atlanta's favor, but hear me out. With how ugly things are getting in Cincy, the Bengals might not have a lot of great offers coming in. Teams will lowball them, and that's just how the business works. Trade idea number one. Hendrickson and the Bengals' first-round pick go to Atlanta. In return, the Bengals get Atlanta's first-round pick, so they move up 2 spots and also snag a future second-rounder. Now that sounds fine until you realize moving up in the first round actually costs you more money because each draft slot has a preset contract value. And remember, we already talked about how the Bengals aren't exactly flush with cash, so they might prefer picking later just to save some dollars. Still, for Atlanta, you move back 2 spots and get a guy who gave you 17.5 sacks? That's a deal worth dreaming about. Trade idea number 2. A little more realistic. Here's a version that might be more grounded. The Bengals send Trey Hendrickson and their second-round pick, number 49 overall, to Atlanta. In return, they get the Falcons' first-round pick at number 15. So from Atlanta's point of view, they walk out of this draft with Hendrickson and 2 second-round picks. They don't have a third-rounder anyway, shout out to the Patriots, so this gives them a clean first 2 days. Basically, Atlanta would be saying, instead of taking a rookie at 15, we'll take a proven dude who had 17.5 sacks last season, and we still get to add more talent in round 2. The other big factor, the contract. Now here's the second asterisk. You're not just trading for Hendrickson, you're also taking on the fact that this guy wants a new deal, and while I don't think he's trying to be the highest paid edge rusher ever, he definitely wants to lock in some long-term security. Right now, he's sitting around 10th in the league among edge rushers at $21 million per year. So what would an extension look like? If I had to guess, I'd say something around 3 years, $90 million. That's $30 million per season. Puts him in that middle ground between Nick Bosa and Josh Allen, the Jaguars' pass rusher, not the Bills' QB. It's a big chunk of change, but for a guy that consistent, that productive, and that ready to contribute right now, worth considering. So the big question, would you trade for Trey Hendrickson? Give me a T for trade or a P for pass, because this dude's production speaks for itself, but it all comes down to price and whether your team's willing to go all in. All right, so let's talk money here. If you extend Trey Hendrickson with that 3-year, $90 million deal we mentioned earlier, he's suddenly the 4th highest paid edge rusher in the league. He turns 31 in December, and realistically, you're probably guaranteeing $60 million of that contract. So basically, it's a 2-year, $60 million investment for one of the most productive pass rushers in football over the last 4 years. That's not opinion, that's facts. Dude's been top 5 in sacks, pressure rate, tackles for loss, all of it. Yeah, it's a chunk of change. But here's the thing, and this is my second big asterisk. You only make a move like this if the timing makes sense for your team. Is your offense ready to win now? You don't want to be out here giving up serious draft capital and locking up major cap space if your offense isn't ready to compete. Because what's the point of paying $30 million a year for a beast off the edge if your offense can't stay on the field? This all comes down to one question. How much do you believe in Michael Penix Jr.? If you're sitting there saying, what we saw in practice, what we saw in college, this guy's legit, then yeah, go all in. If Penix is the guy, then this Hendrickson deal could end up looking like a steal. But if Penix isn't the guy, if the timing's off and you're still a year or 2 away from figuring it out at quarterback, well, now you've lost draft picks, you've got cap space tied up in a 30-year-old pass rusher, and you're not going anywhere without a QB. That's just how this league works. If you don't have the quarterback, nothing else matters. We've seen this before. It kind of reminds me of when the Bears traded for Khalil Mack. They did that right as Mitch Trubisky was heading into year 2. Chicago thought they had their guy under center, so they went all in on defense. Now Mack was great. He was dominant. The Bears made the playoffs twice, but they never won a playoff game because Trubisky wasn't the answer. So looking back, you ask, would they do that trade again knowing they didn't have the quarterback? Probably not. It's like this. You don't start bringing out the dessert before you've figured out the main course. No point spending big on the side dishes if you haven't even cooked the meat and potatoes yet.